Thank you, clerk. Thank you so much.
Hi, we getting ready to start in about maybe less than a minute.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm just sitting here waiting on y'all.
Okay, so you could go ahead and mute your phone until we get to the roll call and all of that stuff.
Okay, all right.
You ready, trustee? Good evening, everyone. I would like to call our regular board meeting to order at 7:31. We're located in the Village Chambers, 2350 South 25th Avenue. Mr. Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, we can, Madam President. Trustee Abraham,
Here.
Trustee Chamalave,
Here.
Trustee Senior,
Here.
Mayor Thompson,
Here.
Trustee Shelby,
Here.
Trustee Armour,
Here.
Trustee Miller is currently absent. Madam President, we do have a quorum. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I'll now read the Pledge of Civility. In the interest of civility, I pledge to promote civility by listening, being respectful to others, acknowledging that we are all striving to support and improve our community, and understanding that we each may have different ideas for achieving that objective. Now I'll ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Before we go on, I'd like to ask for a motion to allow Trustee Senior to participate electronically due to work.
Motion to allow trustee senior to participate.
And I second.
Thank you. It's been properly motioned by Trustee Abraham, seconded by Trustee Shelby, to allow Trustee Senior to participate electronically due to work. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Abraham,
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave,
Yes.
Trustee Senior,
Yes.
Trustee Shelby,
Yes.
Trustee Armour,
Yes.
Trustee Miller is absent, and this carries 5-0. Thank you all. Next is public comment, item 2. I have not received any public comments at this time, so we'll move on to item 3, presentation. Rick Morales from the Small Business Administration.
Rick, can you go to the mic?
Pass it down.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You can go ahead and start, Mr. Morales. You got 5 minutes.
So good evening. Thank you so much, Mayor, for the time and opportunity. So I'm with the SBA, Small Business Administration, but the Office of Disaster Assistance. We are here on the ground. Of course, the damages, this is related to the past floods of September. So the most places, the places with the damages are more like Harville, Dalton, Riverdale. But we are visiting all the towns in villages and cities in Cook County. Why? Because some people move to different cities and towns to live with their families when they lose everything. Or you might have here people with families or friends or networking in other places with more damages than here, because here is not with my knowledge, no damages reported here, so you can correct me on that. But because all this information is not only important for these past events, but for possible future events, you all always can benefit from our information. So you all know that we are not grants, so that's why the people is discouraged always with the SBA. So that's very important to know that when SBA come to these disasters, the people need to comprehend to apply and complete the procedures with the SBA. Because when they are denied by FEMA, most of the times, FEMA refer the survivors or the people that is affected to SBA, and then the people get discouraged. But if they are denied by FEMA and then denied by SBA, SBA might refer them back to FEMA, and FEMA might give them all the other disaster assistance like grants. In short, always encourage the people to complete the procedures with the SBA, even though if they don't want to apply with the SBA. We don't only assist businesses, but we also assist homeowners, renters, and nonprofits. That's very important to know. On those pages that I brought, you can see the 800 number and a link below talking about DRC, Disaster Recovery Center. We already have a Disaster Recovery Center open here in Cook County. A Disaster Recovery Center is a place for FEMA and SBA. It's from FEMA, but we were there too. So if a person go to a DRC, they can apply with FEMA and SBA the same day on the same building, no duplication of benefits. So that's very important to know that we already have a DRC open in Cook County. You can know the address and all the information in the 800 number, and in the first page, there is the link, sba.gov/disaster. So there's the best way to find the Disaster Recovery Center in Cook County. Also, we always encourage the people to go to the centers to apply, because the people can apply online too, but it's not that easy to apply online. Always it's better to go to the centers face-to-face. They can answer you the questions, upload the documents. So that's always the best way to go to apply with the SBA and with FEMA too. That's the best way to go with the federal agencies. Also, right now, we are going to stay until at least at the mid of January, because that's the deadline for physical damages. The physical damages means infrastructure, real estate, inventory, equipment for homeowners, renters, businesses. And we also have a deadline for economic damages. That's for losses on profits. But that's like in 6 months, because we always give more time for economic damages, because it's not that easy for businesses to notice that they lost they lost income because of the past floods of September. And you'll know that these past floods were not the only ones. Some months ago, here in Chicago, Illinois, but not, it was more southwest, more floods happened. So this is like the second presidential declaration in less than a year. So that's why we are still visiting and giving the information to all these villages, cities, or towns with no damages, because one of our purposes too is that you all can help us sharing the information through social media, website, or with your staff, networking, constituents, so they all can know about us, because most of the citizens in U.S., they know about FEMA, but they don't know about SBA. Also, the people need to comprehend that I give some techniques how the people use this. Instead of waiting for the insurance company for the settlement or payment, they apply first with the SBA instead of waiting for that payment or settlement, because they might get the money faster and rebuild and recover quicker with the SBA. That's one technique. So another technique is with the denegation letter, because right now the maximum for FEMA is like $41,000. But if you receive less than that and you are not satisfied, the people use the denegation letter of SBA to appeal with FEMA to see if they can give them more than the initial amount that FEMA gave them. So that's another way. We always encourage the people, hey, it doesn't matter if you don't want it, if you say that you don't qualify, complete the procedures, because that's the evidence that you are completing the procedures with the federal agencies, and you can apply with other nonprofits, with the state, other federal agencies with that denegation letter. Also, because we have the 1 year deferment with 0% interest rates, no nothing. This is a more affordable way. Why we exist? Because FEMA can give everything to every person that is affected. It's not possible way. Right now, this is not the only presidential declaration. We have one in Florida. We have in so many states at the same time. And we are like a long-term recovery. Instead of, the people don't have like the money. They don't have hundreds of thousands if they lost all that to pay for all that, like, and rebuild. So instead of that, sometimes they take this money in 30 years so they can have low monthly payments. I have seen payments of less than $20 a month. So that's why this is a more affordable way in comparison with the normal financial institutions that they don't have, our interest rates are fixed, they don't change for the life of the loan. We are more lenient because this is for the people with lack of resources. So that's why we exist. I know that all the people, the citizens, like more FEMA because they are grants, but like I always say, we are an option, we are an alternative. We are not the best option for all the citizens, but for some of them, we are the best option. I just came here to give the information. This is informative. So I hope that you all learn at least one thing today.
Well, I appreciate you coming out and reaching out to us. Well, what I can do is I'm happy to share this with the Broadview Business Association.
Exactly.
And they'll be able to partner with the other businesses that may want to partner with this to get the information, and maybe you could do a community meeting with them with that.
Exactly.
So thank you for this. Do any members of the board have any questions for him?
No?
Thank you, Mr.
you
Morales.
so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is item 4, communications. Prior to that, for the record, let it reflect that at 7:35 p.m., Trustee Miller arrived to the meeting. First communication. Tomorrow, right here at Village Hall, December 5th at 5:30 p.m., Mayor Thompson and Trustee Miguel Jones will host a Ghana trip informational. This is a Proviso Township Ghana trip. I don't have any other information that's on this flyer. Just come tomorrow if you're interested in the Ghana Informational, 5:30 p.m., December 5th, right here at Village Hall. Did you have anything to add to that, Mayor?
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Next is the Broadview Christmas Parade. This is our annual parade with Operation Santa Claus. This will be Saturday, December 16th at 5 p.m. We will start our parade right at the fire department across the lot here at 2400 South 25th Avenue. The parade route is available at broadview-il.gov. We'll end up in the Broadview Village Square. And that concludes my communications for this evening. Next, item 5, consideration to approve the following minutes. Minutes from the November 20th, 2023 regular board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Chalmalave, seconded by Trustee Shelby. Madam President.
Thank you. Trustee Miller, you have any questions about the minutes from November 20th?
No.
Trustee Armour?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk?
Roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Abstain.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 5-0. Thank you all. Next, item 6, consideration to approve expenditures, grand total.
Hold it. We don't have the minutes from November 6th. That was for November 20th.
The agenda I gave out, does it include November 6th on there?
It does.
Okay, we're gonna table that because I don't have those available. I'll have those for the next meeting.
Okay, we need a
I don't have
motion.
that agenda. I must have not updated the agenda, but since it's on your agenda copy, I'll have a motion to, I'll ask for a motion to table until the next board meeting.
We don't have that on our
Yeah,
agenda.
we don't have it on our agenda.
Okay,
It's not on the agenda.
so if it's not on the agenda, you do have the corrected agenda. Mayor, I apologize that you don't have the.
I just have November 20th.
Right.
Okay, so
That's
we'll
what he
move on to item 6, which is consideration to approve expenditures, grand total of all funds, $197,959.32 for the period of 11/30/2023 ending.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by Trustee Chalmalave, seconded by Trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. Trustee Shelby, the finance chair, will you please read the warrant list?
Yes, this is the warrant list as of November the 30th, 2023. The vendors of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, $144,607.43. Dearborn Life Insurance Company, $3,050.18. Delgado Law Group LLC, $13,401.25. Eco Clean Maintenance Incorporated, $2,504. Fire Services Incorporated, $3,358.07. Lincoln National Life Insurance, $6,079.65. Montana and Welch LLC, $3,768.70. The total of expenditures over $2,500 came to $176,769.28, which is 89% of our total expenditures in the amount of $197,959.32. We had a couple of manual payments, and the vendors are AT&T, CWO. The check date was November the 21st, 2023. Check number 85461 in the amount of $21,291.41. We also had a manual check payment to Galena Chrysler for November the 21st, 2023. The check number was 85460 in the amount of $85,358. The total payments for the manual checks was $106,649.41. The following accounts were affected by these expenditures. We had the general fund account in the amount of $193,888.55. We had the motor fuel tax fund in the amount of $1,538.32. The Roosevelt Road TIF fund in the amount of $1,218.75. The 17th Avenue TIF North in the amount of $289.95. The 19th Street TIF in the amount of $243.75. The Roosevelt and 17th Avenue TIF in the amount of $292.50. The Capital Projects Fund in the amount of $487.50, again for a grand total of $197,959.32. Madam Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Shelby. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No question.
Trustee Armour?
No question.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalave?
No question.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
None.
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Abstain.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 5-0. Thank you all. Next, item 7, application for the authority to expend funds totaling $29,990 for a purchase order, EMC Fire for the fire department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been properly motioned by Trustee Miller, seconded by Trustee Armour. Madam President.
Thank you. Chief Martin, you want to tell us about this PO?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees, everyone in attendance tonight.
Good evening.
This purchase is related to a grant. This is also a budgeted item, but it's in coordination with a grant that was applied for back in June. The mayor had sent this over to me. We applied through the fire department, through the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus and ComEd. It's a reimbursement grant, and it's in conjunction with a purchase that is going to be part of our initiative as a fire department and village for reducing our carbon emissions and utilizing tools that don't require gas or diesel to use. So what we're looking to do is purchase battery-operated extrication tools with this, something that we've been in line with doing already, but we want to continue that success. So it lined up with that. We were fortunate to get this grant, and through that process, we formed a committee, and through that, we chose this set of tools that are on the agenda for this evening. So we're looking to do that. The cost of that is $29,990. $10,000 will be reimbursed from ComEd as part of the grant. And I'm also happy to announce that the firefighters and their 2% fund have decided to also contribute $5,000 to reimburse for this as well. So for the betterment of the department, you know, everybody's bought into it. And so it's great. So the total for tonight for approval is the $29,990, but the reimbursement will include $10,000 from ComEd and another $5,000 from the 2% fund, bringing the total from the fire department budget to be $14,990.
Nice. Thank you, Chief Martin. Trustee Miller, you have any questions or comments?
No.
Trustee Armour?
No questions.
Trustee Shelby?
No questions, great job.
Thank you.
Trustee Chamalave?
No questions. Good
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
I will say before we go to vote that I'm happy to hear that it was a team concept where you included the department in the decision-making.
Yes.
And that's leadership, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call, Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And Madam President, this carries 6-0. Thank you all. Next item, 8, committee reports. These are given at each first meeting of the month, starting with the Business License Committee. Trustee Armour.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. I do not have a report for the Business License Committee, but I would like to give a report because I've been a little absent regarding what I've been doing. In September of 2023, we had the Illinois Municipal League Conference in the metropolitan downtown area, and it was a great conference where all of the municipal officers come together within the state, and we network and we learn about different topics. And because I'm a first-term trustee, I found that this IML conference was the most informative, or maybe I was just more open and receptive to learning to receive the information. So at the IML, I actually got a better understanding of the tax increment funds and how they impact. And then in November of 2023, I had the privilege, and I just am grateful that I had the opportunity to go to the National League of Cities in Atlanta, Georgia, with the board, and I was very impressed that the entire team of the board of directors and even the operating staff was at this conference. But some of the things that I learned at this conference, I learned that the National League of Cities is on a different level. It's at the national level than, of course, the IML. And there's many great opportunities to get more engaged at a different level, to really develop leadership skills. And that's one thing that I learned. And networking with my other peers on a different level, and to receive the encouragement that is necessary to really reach out and extend myself to become a better leader, to serve the people here in Broadview. I also learned about a little bit more about some of my colleagues, you know, here on the board in a more informal way. And we had, it was a lot of learning, a lot of things to learn, and it was informative. And I got a chance to hang around with some of my peers. So I just wanted to give that report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Police and Fire Committee, Trustee Miller.
No report.
Thank you, Trustee. Next is Finance Committee, Trustee Shelby.
Yes. Okay, on my report, the fiscal year 2022 audit work has begun. The annual treasurer's report will be published in the Village Press. And on our next meeting, which is December the 18th, we will address the tax levy. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Next is the Building and Public Property Committee, Trustee Chamalave.
I do not have a report at this time.
Thank you, trustee. Next is water, drainage, and health. Trustee Senior.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am working with the mayor to talk about the water rates, in the coming year of 2024. So I would just say, to stay tuned for the community dates in January. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee. Next is street, sidewalks, and alleys committee. Trustee Abraham.
No report.
Thank you, trustee.
Thank you.
That concludes village committee reports. Next is item 9, old business. We have none. Item 10, new business. Item A resolution authorizing and approving a certain grant of funds usage agreement between the Broadview Business Association and the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Chalmalave, seconded by trustee Abraham. Madam President.
Thank you. So I received communication from trustee Chalmalave with some typos that was inside the grant of funds usage agreement. I've asked the clerk to recirculate that via email, but he also gave you a hard copy. We talked about this where the village approved funding up to $20,000 for the BBA to use to help out small businesses. This is the agreement holding them accountable to the tax dollars and being responsible on how the money is spent. Trustee Miller, you have any questions?
No.
Trustee Armour?
No.
Trustee Shelby?
No.
Trustee Chalmalave? That might be an old one. Did you check your email? Did you check your email? Trustee Chalmalave?
No questions.
Trustee Senior?
No questions.
Trustee Abraham?
No questions.
Mr. Clerk?
Roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chalmalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this carries 6-0. Thank you all. Next, item B, an ordinance authorizing and approving the disposal of personal property from the Public Works Department for the Village of Broadview, County of Cook, State of Illinois.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham, seconded by trustee Shelby. Madam President.
Thank you. So this came before the board as it relates to disposal. Well, it was a PO that was Director Ames asked for us for the board to approve to replace the Jeep that he's currently driving because of some mechanical issues that's taking place with it. And so in order for us to approve that purchase, trustee Miller asked, was it a trade-in? He confirmed that it was a trade-in, so it's more intentional work that needed to be done so that we can get the value of the vehicle. This is giving us the authority to dispose of that vehicle, whether it's a trade-in, a donation, a purchase, an as-is purchase, and this is just so that we can get rid of that. We're still waiting on the numbers to come in for them to for Public Works to resubmit what the final dollar is with the, with the trade-in value. We don't know what that number is, so, but this is the first step, is dispose that, and then once he get the number, we'll come back to the board with the purchase order of the vehicle that he's requested. Trustee Miller?
So I appreciate that explanation because it was kind of iffy on what was going on with this. I was like, it seems like it's an open, like, okay, it's a donation. And I was like, oh, that's not what we approved. However, we tabled the purchase order to this board meeting. So are we going to revisit that?
No, because we want the dollar amount for the vehicle. so
I
that we
understand
can-
that, but it's recorded that it was tabled to this board
I
meeting. So
understand.
how does that work since we tabled the purchase order first? I know it has nothing to do with approving this piece, but I feel like we might be off somewhere. I
Right,
don't know.
so it was tabled, I don't recall specifically if it was tabled to the next board meeting or
I
if it was
did.
just tabled in general. But either way, when it's ready, it can just be put back on the
Okay.
table. So that'll just be simply adding it to the agenda, so,
So the next board meeting didn't really,
yeah,
affect
well,
much.
I mean, I think because it wasn't ready in the sense of, as the mayor explained, that, we don't know what the trade-in value at this point is going to be. And so that's what Director Ames is working with the dealership to determine what the trade-in value is going to be. Then you'll have a much more cohesive document that's going to state what the purchase price is, as well as what the trade-in value is, all in one document.
okay, thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Armour?
Along with that, along those lines, I would love to be able to see what repairs need to be done and what is the repair estimate compared to the new vehicle cost.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, is that,
Because the
I understand what you're
legislation,
saying.
okay, the legislation was saying that, it was beyond repair. It's a nice car.
On
It
the
looks like a
outside.
nice car,
On the
on the
outside.
outside, right. So it just makes sense to be able to, to have that in my brain, to make sure that, is this practical, or, is it, or,
Well, I do think, just one thing that I can tell you from my personal experience, both working with Director Ames and just my personal experience as a municipal attorney, and sometimes going out on site with the Public Works Department in various municipalities. This Jeep is a two-wheel drive Jeep. The vehicle that's looking to be purchased is a four-wheel drive. And that in and of itself could be one of the reasons. I'm sure that there's many other reasons, but being able to access sites that you might not be able to access vehicularly because you now would have a four-wheel drive versus a two-wheel drive, I'm sure that there's probably a benefit to that. In addition to, it just being cost prohibitive to maintain and repair, and it is a 2014, so it's almost, these vehicles tend to get a lot more wear and tear than the normal person's vehicle. So I just wanted to point that out, because it's used in a different manner.
well, it's always nice to have all the pieces.
Sure, understood.
and then the other thing I would like to add, Trustee Armour, although you asking for that, and most certainly we can provide that, this vehicle purchase that Director Ames brought before the board, it's in his budget to do it, so we budget for it to be purchased. So instead of just making a purchase, he wanted to get rid of that to save the village some money, to recoup some of the money from the vehicle.
Thanks for that
Any
information.
other questions?
That's it.
Okay, Trustee Shelby,
No questions.
Trustee Chalmalavi,
No questions.
Trustee Senior,
No questions.
Trustee Abraham,
No questions.
Mr. Clerk,
Roll call, Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Please come back to me, because I didn't know we were actually making, I'm confused about what we were voting on now.
we voting on item B.
Right, but because it was tabled until this meeting,
No, that wasn't, you wasn't at the
or
last meeting.
it was indefinitely tabled.
No, it was not tabled.
And-
This is new agenda item, it's under new business.
The
What was
purchase
tabled
order
was the
was
purchase order for the vehicle, that's not on this agenda.
So it's happening in two separate pieces. First, we're saying, yes, you can dispose of the property, which will allow him to then have the authority to look at the trade-in and get the trade-in value. And then the second piece would come before the board, which would be the approval of the purchase order with the trade-in value on there.
That's the part that's traded. Okay, that's tabled. Yes.
We're
the
voting.
disposable of the property, yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And this passes 6-0. Thank you all. Next item, item 11, Village Clerk's Report. I don't have much. I do want to say that I am in the Christmas spirit. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. This Saturday, I was honored to be able to volunteer for the autism awareness entity that we have, the Answer Inc., held over at the Beverly Center. They had a Christmas dinner for the families, and it was such a pleasure to interact with the families and assist where we could. We set up, we served pizza, we played drums, and various activities for the family. So it was an honor to do that, and I'm so proud of what Deborah Vines is doing with the Answer Inc. Lastly, if you've never experienced the Toys for Tot motorcycle parade in Chicago, you have got to go out and see that. It is amazing. I was out over at Lane Tech High School yesterday at 5 in the morning setting up for that. And when the parade finally reached from the south side where it started at 85th and Western to our location, I was right there in the front line waving the motorcycles in, directing traffic, and literally 20 to 25,000 motorcycles passed us by, and it was awesome. So that is something that you got to see. It was a good cause, and I was proud to have Commissioner Aguilar invite us out to participate in that, and we talked, and he actually mentioned us at the podium, so it was a pleasure. So that concludes my report. Hope everyone else is in the Christmas spirit.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I got some pictures from Mr. Tucker. He must have went with you.
He was.
Okay, yeah, because he sent some pictures, 'cause he was excited about it.
Oh, you know what? I saw him come back. I didn't know he was out there, but I'll talk to him about that. Thank you. Mr. Tucker, by the way, is my across-the-street neighbor and one of my best buddies. So he's a resident of Broadview.
Yep, he was there too.
All right, thank you. Next is item 12, Village President's Report. Mayor Katrina Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Happy holidays and good evening, everyone. Just a few announcements. We have many reasons to be grateful in the Village of Broadview. We're moving in the right direction, and that's forward. As we continue to provide all the necessary services to you and our business stakeholders, in 2024, we will be working on our comprehensive plan. The last time this was done was in 2006, almost 20 years ago. There will be a steering committee that will include residents, business stakeholders, nonprofit, faith-based organizations, and our local taxing bodies will be a part of the steering committee. I will make some announcements in 2024 on the direction that we go with the comprehensive plan. The board will be doing a board retreat prior to the comprehensive plan launching so that we can all be on one accord and on one page to move our village, to continue to move our village forward. At our last board meeting, Director Ames informed us that the senior bus was not repairable, and it was recommended that we take it out of service. We have taken that vehicle out of service for our seniors and our disabled residents, but we do have the Proviso Township that provides the exact same service. And so with the information will be on the village website, mailed to our seniors that requested hard copies, as well as an email blast sometime this week. So the Proviso Township provides senior transportation, and it's a free senior ride program. To participate, the senior must be 60 years of age and older. They do have, you have to schedule the ride, so it's the same like if you were scheduling a ride with the Village of Broadview to get there, you still have to call in advance to get your scheduled ride. They do have township policies to all passengers. They do have a schedule on Mondays. They do certain things on Mondays where they go Monday through Friday, and then the local services that we have within the Proviso Township. They have a schedule of holidays, what municipalities they do service, and a client acknowledgement on protocol on the rules and regulations for the Proviso Township. So the Proviso Township do provide senior bus services. We are taking our senior bus out of service because it's too expensive for us to maintain. It was a free vehicle. Probably in 2010, the vehicle came online. It was a free vehicle to the village. However, it wasn't free because we still had to provide maintenance on the vehicle. We have to go through an annual certification every year with the vehicle, and we have to provide the gas. So what I've asked the finance department was to do was with that senior bus, what is the expense that we have total when we look at the purchase of gas, the maintenance that's required on the vehicle, and how we can put that value back into the pot for the seniors so that we can provide more snow removal program for the seniors that's not able to plow snow. So it's not a loss to us because we do have a plan in place by utilizing the Proviso Township, and this is where our tax dollars go. So we should be using them as a service as well instead of having two different types of services. So, and they've been, and pretty much most of the seniors that I've communicated with, most of them use the Proviso Township senior bus anyway. So they very familiar with it, but I just wanted to make that announcement that was coming out. The senior snow removal list, this year we allocated for 75 residents to partake into the senior snow removal program. We had to reduce that number because the vendors that we used last year just didn't provide the service of what our expectation is in the Village of Broadview, and that's excellent service to the people that live here that request the service. And we only have so many men and women that work in the Public Works Department that can shovel snow doing 2 inches or more, plus on the top of the duties that they have to do. So we are looking to, so we do have a wait list. And so on the wait list, I will personally be calling all of these seniors, it's about 40 that's on the wait list, to see if we can come up with another vendor that can just dedicate their time for us for snow removal. But that's really hard during the season when this is an opportunity for them to make money. So, you know, we pay a greatly reduced, but they can go and get snow removals at $35 or whatever they charge is, and so they taking a loss by partnering with us, and that's the issue we came up with. That's the issue we had last year. We couldn't get somebody that was committed just to service Broadview during the snow when they can go somewhere else and make more money. So, you know, I mean, our hands are really tied with that. As it relates to vacant properties, the Village of Broadview has 9 vacant properties that's in town that we are aware of, that we know that the banks have filled out the vacant property application that's required by the Village of Broadview. But we do have, so with this vacant properties, I've met with Commissioner Upshaw as it relates to how we handle moving forward. So over the weekend or late last week, we had a resident inform us that someone had moved into a house that we knew that had been vacant. When we looked at the file, the bank is still vacant, it's on file that it's a vacant property. Someone came and moved into the house, and so we immediately responded to that. Long story short, we ended up boarding up the property today, and now that we have, not in the Village of Broadview, but within surrounding communities, we have the migrants moving in, and so now you're getting up on different types of scams with this. So our first immediate is public safety. What is going to be best for the Village of Broadview to protect the residents that live here? So we are looking into connecting with the mortgage or the lender that has possession of the property to inform them what our immediate reaction is to board up those 9 properties so that we don't come in contact with this. The person that was living in this property, they was only there a couple of days, but it was no running water, and, you know, just wasn't the right thing to do. So we immediately addressed that issue to dispel the fear of the people that live in the surrounding community. So we are aware of that, and we are working on that. The other request that I have is for our residents, and I've been doing robocalls regarding this on collection day. When it's collection day, please do not put your garbage cans in the street. Because what happens when it's time for us to plow, when the snow starts, and it's time for us to plow, and your garbage can is in the street, that prohibits Public Works from plowing the streets, and what we're used to is with excellence. So please put your containers on the sidewalk for garbage collection day. And that concludes my report.
All right. Well, thank you, Madam President. We do have a closed session this evening, item 13, and that consists of Section A, Item A, Section 2C2-3, the selection of a person to fill a public office as defined in this act, including a vacancy in the public office when the public body is given power to appoint under law or ordinance, or the discipline, performance, or removal of the occupant of a public office when the public body is given power to remove the occupant under law or ordinance. Also, item B, possible actions on items coming out of this closed session. I'll need a motion to approve to suspend the regular board meeting and go into closed session.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we postpone this meeting to go into our executive session. I need a second.
I second.
Okay, so we're not postponing, we're actually suspending the regular board meeting. It's been properly approved, or I should say, motion by trustee Armour, seconded by trustee Shelby to suspend the regular board meeting and go into closed session. I'll take a roll call, Madam President. Trustee Abraham?
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave?
Yes.
Trustee Senior?
Yes.
Trustee Shelby?
Yes.
Trustee Armour?
Yes.
Trustee Miller?
Yes.
And Madam President, we are hereby in executive session, or going, suspended from the regular board meeting at 8:13 p.m., heading to executive session. Thank you all.
Trustee Senior, we'll call you when we get in closed session.
Okay.
ain't take all my stuff out for my gifts.
It's good you had a good birthday.
And I texted you, and I sent you that one, just to give you an idea of what. That's why I don't do that. I don't, keep self. We waiting on, and I'm thinking about
oh,
getting
let me
the
call
second one.
trustee Sanders.
It's the Stitch one.
Yeah, the second.
At first, I thought y'all was gonna need to call the police. Call the police. Walk in here. I was like,
Y'all make rules and don't follow the own rules that you put in policy.
yeah, but I'm like, get it out, things that y'all made about each other, and move on. I don't like it, that's fine.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, hold on, we waiting on trustee Armour to come back and the clerk be situated.
Okay.
You ready? All right.
Okay, for the record, the time is 9:18 PM. We are now back in regular board meeting. I'll entertain a motion to reconvene the regular board meeting from executive session.
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Miller, seconded by trustee Abraham to reconvene the regular board meeting coming out of closed session. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
And we are hereby reconvened to the regular board meeting at 9:18 PM. All right, coming out of executive session, we had possible actions coming out. Madam President, it's your floor.
Thank you. So we had some actions that the board need to take to vote on. So trustee Abraham, would you please make the motion to restrict certain trustees from parts of Village Hall that are not open to the public without an escort?
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Abraham. Was that seconded by trustee Shelby? Shelby?
Yes, he does.
Seconded by trustee Shelby to restrict certain trustees from the Village Hall. Madam President, will you have a roll call?
Yes, please.
Roll call. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes, and revisit this within a time period, the mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
No.
Trustee Miller.
No.
And Madam President, this carries 4-2. Thank you all.
Thank you. I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly motioned by trustee Shelby, seconded by, is that trustee Senior? I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I made the motion,
Who
trustee.
second? Okay, thank you. It's been properly motioned by trustee Miller, seconded by trustee Armour. Roll call to adjourn. Trustee Abraham.
Yes.
Trustee Chamalave.
Yes.
Trustee Senior.
Yes.
Trustee Shelby.
Yes.
Trustee Armour.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Yes.
We are hereby adjourned at 9:20 PM. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, trustee Senior.